SpaceX fans who moved to Starbase. September 14, 2022. The first time Anthony Gomez saw one of SpaceX's Starship prototypes take flight. He watched it on a projector. He was far away from the humid Texas coast, where the actual launch was taking place. Instead, he was sitting in his house in Florida with his girlfriend. On the wall of his home, Anthony admired the Starship rocket as it careened through the sky. All three of the Raptor engines cut off when the spaceship reached an altitude of roughly 41,000 feet. And the massive steel vessel began to plummet back to Earth, pitched over on its side, looking like a grain silo in free fall. Just before reaching the landing pad, its engines reignited, and the vehicle rapidly turned upright again as it prepared to touch down. But the spacecraft came down too fast, hitting the ground hard and bursting apart in a massive explosion. Afterward, only a charred patch of Earth remained where Starship once stood. A disappointment. To Anthony, the explosion wasn't the real tragedy. The real tragedy was that he'd witnessed a historic moment on YouTube. Along with everyone else, not being there in person was like missing it entirely. At least the Starship didn't land successfully. Though, he still had another chance. It was so close to landing that it was just like a pit in my belly feeling. Anthony told me, and I had to come see it. A few weeks later, he and his friends went on vacation, traveling through the southwestern United States to Horseshoe Bend, Zion, and the Four Corners. But rather than soaking in the vistas of gaping canyons and jagged cliffs carved out by the Colorado River, Anthony found himself staring at his phone, looking up the times for road closures near SpaceX's Texas launch site. Road closures were a surefire sign that another test launch was imminent. Why am I thinking about this place? Anthony wondered. The place that he couldn't get out of his mind was Boca Chica, a small patch of land on the very southern tip of Texas where the Rio Grande meets the Gulf Coast. There, SpaceX had developed an entire construction and launch facility that would become known as Starbase. It was the primary site where the company had started building and testing prototypes of Starship, the company's most ambitious rocket yet. Shaped like a giant silver bullet, it is SpaceX's next-generation vehicle, geared toward launching cargo, and, one day, people, to distant worlds. It is meant to be fully reusable, capable of landing upright on other planetary surfaces. The first stop is the Moon. Then, it'll be on to Mars. Starship has yet to go to space. Though, to prepare for its first trip to orbit, SpaceX began launching prototypes to high altitudes and then trying to land them again in one piece, somewhat mimicking how the rockets will need to land when they travel to alien planets. Not long after the first explosive test launch that Anthony saw in December of 2020, SpaceX tried again in February. This time, he made sure to be in southern Texas. The target date kept moving as SpaceX tried to get permission from the Federal Aviation Administration to launch. But Anthony was undeterred. He made the trip back and forth, finally finding himself in nearby Port Isabel before the test was approved. The launch was nothing short of spectacular to Anthony. Though the rocket didn't stick the landing that time, either, it came down at a roughly 60-degree angle, triggering another massive explosion. Still, he had caught the bug. I was like, well, now I gotta see it land. You know, he said. Link to full article in description. Source reposted and summarized from Loren Grush at The Verge. My take: now those are hardcore fans.